Hey everybody, welcome to class. We're on March 23rd. Actually, I'm recording this Sunday night, but this is the lesson for March 23rd on Monday. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Mine was good. I was able to get out, walk around a little bit, see some of the neighbors and talk to them without getting too close. Went down to church on Saturday night and helped record the service for the Saturday night and Sunday morning streaming. So hopefully you had a chance to enjoy family time, get together, or stick together with them, and then also had a chance to worship. If you didn't, we still have the online recording of that on YouTube. So you can go to divinesaviorchurch.com, check it out, and see what Pastor Carlos had to say for his sermon, and then sing along with us and hear the readings. But today we are getting started with, or going back, I should say, to the novel Things Fall Apart. And what we're going to be doing today is looking at an interview with the author. So we're going to look at the Achebe interview with Katie Bacon. She asked him some questions a while back, and we're going to take a look at that and do some annotating. We're also going to review our vocabulary for Unit 3, so we can make use of that when we get into our essay that we're going to be writing at the end of the week. So I'll take you to my my class. This is where I have my sample class, and then I send everything over to the real classrooms. And so today is March 23rd, like I said, annotation of Achebe interview. So the objectives, what we're going to do today is annotate the interview, and then we're also going to look at the definitions, review those on Quizlet so that you're ready to use them later on in the week. You can see the resources there, and then the assignment, annotate and review the vocabulary. So let's start with the annotation. The first thing we're going to be doing is taking a look at the article or the interview that you'll be reading. I snatched it out of the student textbook, so if you go to assignments, I believe it will work, and then click on the assignment. Let's see now. This one, student view, there we go. So what you're going to be doing is this is what you're going to do, and then you should be able to open it up in OneNote. And you can have it read to you if you'd like, or just read it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my OneNote, or my notebook in OneNote, and just kind of show you what we're doing. So here is what I've copied for you. It is, I think, 11 questions that they asked him, and then he responded to each of those. So when you go there, you're going to see that I've already annotated the introduction, and I've annotated the first question. So you don't have to do those. You're going to be going right to the question number 2. But what I'd like you to do is take a minute and read through my annotations. I put that up there just so you have an idea of what you're going to be doing. You will also, I just realized I didn't put this in your files yet, but you'll have this annotation guide. This was given to you at the beginning of the year, and this is what you're going to be using for annotating. So circle words and phrases you don't understand, put a star next to key ideas or important ideas, double question mark by something that's confusing, exclamation point for while writing, plus or minus if you agree or disagree, and then there's other things. Add a sticky note. Looks like there's a lot of people that are entering in their assignments. I'm linked to all of the classes in the high school, so I get a notice whenever someone puts an assignment up there. And then you can do these other things as well. So if we go back, I'm just going to show you a couple of mine and show you what I did. So first of all, I circled emergence, but look at emergence is bold-faced in a different color, so they actually gave me the definition there, process of becoming known. So Chinua Achebe's emergence as the founding father of African literature in the English language, in the words of the Harvard University philosopher K. Anthony Appiah, could very well be traced to his encounter in the early 50s with Joyce Carey's novel Mystery Johnson. So that means he's becoming known. People are starting to know about him. What's interesting, though, if you keep reading, is why he decided to write the story he wrote, or the novel he wrote. It says Achebe read it while studying at the University College in Ibadan during the last years of British colonial rule. So he's in Nigeria, he's reading this novel by Mr. Johnson, and in the curriculum, in that it says, in the curriculum full of Shakespeare, Coleridge, and Wordsworth, Mr. Johnson stood out as one of the few books about Africa. So they were really interested. They're like, hey, this is about us. This is about our continent. And so Time Magazine recently declared Mr. Johnson the best book ever written about Africa. But Achebe and his classmates had a quite different reaction. So here, they're actually in Africa, and this book is talking about their people. So the students saw the Nigerian hero as an embarrassing nitwit. Mr. Johnson, Achebe writes, opened my eyes to the fact that my home was under attack, and that my home was not merely a house or a town, but more importantly, an awakening story. So I highlighted that with yellow because I thought that was worthy of notation. That's a star, which means it's important, it's key information. And if you read what I wrote, you'll remember whenever you annotate, you have to write in the margins. Achebe and his classmates realized that stories about African people painted the Africans in a bad light. So these stories were all from the European point of view, and they showed the African people in a bad light, or they didn't make them look good. So going on, reading on, in 1958, Achebe responded with his own novel about Nigeria, Things Fall Apart, which was one of the first books to tell the story of European colonization from an African perspective. I found that surprising. That's why I put a wow there. They didn't have, before 1958, now 1958 isn't that long ago. That's what, 50 years ago, 52 years ago? So before that, they never had stories from a African point of view. It was always from the European point of view. Well, of course, if you only get one point of view, you're going to see things differently. And that's why I put all the previous stories were from the European point of view, and later on, down here, I agreed with what he said in this next paragraph. If you only have one side told, we don't get the full picture. And so kind of like when you hear a story about someone, and then from one person, and then you hear it from that person themselves, usually it's not exactly the same. I think of, for instance, when couples break up, why did you break up? Well, a lot of times the girl has a different story than the guy. And so you only get one side if you only are listening to one side of the story. And so that was the same with the Europeans coming into Africa. Of course, they're going to make themselves look good and see how great they were. But that wasn't always the case, as we saw in the story. So I'd like you to read the rest of this and see what I annotated. And then as you continue reading through questions 2, 3, 4, and so on, I would like you to do the annotations. All right? You can do that by opening it up in OneNote. You'll be able to use your stylus. I didn't have a stylus, so I just typed it. But then I also put symbols up there and everything. So make sure that you use this annotation guide as you're doing the annotations. All right. Then, let me see if I can get back out of here. I just wanted to show you, well, now I'm in section 1. That should be okay. So if we go to the assignments, there is a rubric for your annotation. I just want to make sure you are following that. So, what should have been, I'm not sure why it wasn't assigned yet. But here is the annotation rubric. So you need to use multiple annotations, symbols. So the star, the exclamation point, plus, minus, circling. So to get the full points there, numerous and variety of annotations are used per paragraph. They are identified correctly according to the annotation guide. So make sure you use the guide and you use a number of them. There should be multiple ones for each question that Katie Bacon asks. Then I'm also going to look at your comments. Remember, you don't annotate or put symbols up without also accompanying the comments. So the comments, you need to have accompanying comments with all the symbols when appropriate. So if you have a circle, you're going to have the definition. Or if you have an exclamation point, you're going to say, why was that a wow? Or if you have a star, why do you think that's important? So I want to be able to see what you're thinking. So it says there are comments accompanying all symbols when appropriate. The comments are insightful, so they're on topic, and they help to let me understand what you're thinking, and they show the thought process of the student. All right, and then you can go down to see what the other ones get. But that is what you're going to be doing for your annotation. All right. Then the second thing that you're going to do is, let me go back to my practice classroom. Second thing you're going to be doing is going to Quizlet. Click on that, and it should bring up this. So I would like you to go through and do any of these. You can play any of these games, Match, Gravity, Live, or you can do the spelling right. I want you to practice these so you get to know these. Now, obviously, there's no way for me to check that you know them. I want you just to work on this on your own. This is something that you'll need to know. So go through and practice those. Give me a screenshot just so I know you were on there and practicing. And then the other thing I want you to do is take a test. So when you go to the test, it just gives you the definition. You have to answer it. Now, again, I'm not going to be able to see if you have the answers written down. I'm not going to focus on that. I want you to do the best you can and just do it on your own. Just hold yourself accountable. And then once you get 100, if you don't get 100, redo it. Once you get 100, take a screenshot of this. Obviously, I won't see all of the words, but I'll see some of them. But I want to see that 100% grade, and then send me that screenshot. This is not counting as a test grade. Obviously, there's no way for me to keep it valid, so it's not a test grade. It's just showing me that you were in there and working on it. So take those 2 screenshots. There's another assignment for you to turn that in, and then you'll be done with your assignment for today. Tomorrow, we're going to get more in depth and take a look at some of your own thoughts and ideas and questions about the interview, and then we're going to later on this week take a look at writing an analysis. An analysis is a little bit different than a summary, so we'll take a look at that, and we'll be able to do that later this week. Looking forward to Wednesday, getting to see you. I'm hoping that Mrs. Corrales is going to be able to join us, but we got to stay 6 feet away, so I don't know how we're going to do that, but we're looking forward to getting together with you. Stay safe. Miss you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.